Breaking down the bloodline drama in Saudi Arabia Crown Jewel.
AEW Friday Night features the long-awaited debut of Bobby Lashley.
It's time to roll around the ring. All right, Crown Jewel, Saudi Arabia, the 12th PLE in Saudi Arabia, by the way.
12 already.
It's been about 5 years.
That's a lot of money.
That's blood money, as they say.
Yeah.
So they started the show off with the Bloodline drama, the six-man tag, Roman and the Usos, Solo, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga. Poor Tonga Loa was held out of this match. Feels so
probably for his own good. He doesn't want to make the highlight reels anymore.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, Saudi is where Titus O'Neil fell underneath the ring. I feel Tonga Loa would find a way to...
Well, if you compare the two, you could look at Tonga Loa. You're doing great, man.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Keep it up, man.
Yeah.
You just got to stand at ringside. It's totally fine.
Just don't fall into the ring, yeah.
So, I mean, more surprised that they jumped right to the six-man tag at Crown Jewel within a week, basically, they kind of built this, or more surprised that they opened the show with this?
Neither, really.
Okay.
Because this serves to the bigger story that we're leading to. Plus, on top of that, you want to start the event off hot. And this is, I mean, of course, your main event's going to be for the Crown Jewel title, so that can't be what opens.
Crown Jewel
the illustrious.
Title. Yes.
The coveted.
Yep. Next to Braun Strowman's greatest Royal Rumble title.
It's as important as the European title was. Anyway, but for those that remember.
I missed that belt.
Yeah. But no, you want to start the show off hot, and I think again this serves to we got 4 weeks till Survivor Series at this point.
Yes.
There's a lot of story to tell here. I think this is probably just kicking off another chapter, especially with a Sami involvement.
Yeah, no, I was surprised, not necessarily in a bad way, that they put this at Crown Jewel. I think we still have that. And again, it's a new era. Triple H is taking over. And we're so used to okay, something this big with Roman, they're not just going to rush into it at a Crown Jewel, right? And then I remember we had Jimmy Uso and The Rock show up and return at Bad Blood. That would have never happened at a Bad Blood 5 years ago. They would have held that for a WrestleMania.
SummerSlam.
Something like that,
Royal
right?
Rumble, something, yeah.
You know, and then we go back to, obviously, the CM Punk Survivor Series return. So there's just a lot of what Triple H does, and we've said it a few times on the show. Just because we haven't done it this way before doesn't mean we can't do it this way now. And yes, it opening the show also was a surprise. It's a good way to start the show off hot. And it's in Saudi. They want the whole presentation for the titles, so they had that end the show. That's fine. But when it comes to the result of this match, Solo Sikoa pinning Roman Reigns, very similar fashion to the way he beat down John Cena, by the way.
Yeah.
In Saudi as well. Yep. Multiple Samoan spikes. Pinned him clean. The attack afterwards. You have dysfunction with the Usos and Roman during the match. Sami Zayn comes out after being seen talking to Solo earlier in the week, questioning Jey Uso getting back within the bloodline. He helps Roman and the Usos, and then has a whole mishap with Roman Reigns as those two accidentally collide in the middle of the ring. So a lot going on there. Let's start with the clean win. Are you surprised that Solo pinned Roman pretty clean in this match?
No, not at all. It serves, again, to the story of this is not going to be an easy, seamless sort of rally the troops back together thing. Think of a lot. Speaking of bad blood, think of a lot of the bad blood that was left with Roman towards these individuals.
Yeah.
Sammy, Jay, Jimmy. So it's not, hey guys, group text. Let's all get together and let's form the Avengers again. The OG bloodline, whatever. No, this is regaining trust, learning to work together again. With people still feeling like, I don't know about this guy yet. This happened last time. So, and also Roman kind of getting into the spot where he hasn't faced. I mean, even though he's been up against this current version of the bloodline,
yes,
it's still a thing where the whole situation is not going to just be like Roman comes back with his group and they conquer everybody.
Yeah, it feels like a little bit to me, not too much, but it feels like a little bit of pushing the fast forward button on this story, and I'm not understanding why. It's been a few weeks since Bad Blood. As you mentioned, we have 4 weeks until Survivor Series. So the fact that the whole dysfunction part of it, what confused me about that at Crown Jewel is the night before on SmackDown, they had a whole segment discussing their issues. Roman agreed, and they had their whole moment of all holding up the hands and standing side by side and looking to be in unison. And they show up at Crown Jewel not coming out together and then having this whole dysfunction throughout the entire match. I'm like, okay, why do we have this whole segment that seemingly, at least between the Usos and Roman, cleared everything up and got things a little bit back on track, only for, the dysfunction to show up out of nowhere a day later.
It's because, okay, so for whoever's Triple H and whoever else is involved in booking this story and telling it, I appreciate the nod to we're not doing this in a bubble of WWE creativity. We're actually interjecting some real life emotion that would take place if this was a real life situation, right?
Sure.
How you might have falling out, or I might have falling out with people in our lives, and then at some point we all agree, hey, let's try to be cool and get back together the way things were. On paper, it sounds great. You might initially all go out for drinks and have a good time. When the time comes to get back together the way things were, it's going to be like, yeah, but I've done this while we were away. I'm this person now.
Right.
You're this person. And last time, so I think the whole, even you spoke on the entrances.
Yes.
Jey Uso's not that guy anymore.
No.
He's his own man.
I do love that for Jey.
He doesn't need to come out as, like we did before, we're the Usos backing up Roman. Like, no, I'm my own dude now. I don't have to come out with you.
Yes.
I'm here to help you. I don't need to come out with you.
Yeah, I loved the entrance thing specifically, even if there wasn't dysfunction during the match. Like, even before seeing the dysfunction, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, and I love that for Jey, because I do not want this to be an Usos reunion. Sorry, I know
a very loose reunion is fine with me.
But that's it. Like, I do not want them going for the tag titles at WrestleMania after this. I don't want any of that. I want Jey Uso to be helping out his family, still looking like the guy that he is right now, and then going on back for the IC title.
Because you don't want to lose that moniker of I am main event Jey Uso.
Yes.
Which means I'm not tag team member of
and
Usos.
Jimmy Uso is still looking like Roman's bitch still, right?
Because he puts that whole like, I don't have a problem with it. I'm cool with it. It's like, bro, that's the problem.
And that's going to kill his character in the long run because, again, we've said this before. Once his Bloodline story right now, like, I don't know what else you do. We don't want to see Jimmy and Jey again. We don't want to see a Jimmy and Jey reunion. So we're going to do this whole War Games match and everything like that. And then Jey can go back off being, main event Jey Uso for the IC title picture. And then what does Jimmy do besides stand in Roman's corner and his match against The Rock? Right? Like, that's where I don't love what has been done to the Usos equally there. When it comes to Solo pinning Roman, that's for me where the fast forward button kind of comes in, because I feel like this should have just been Solo versus Roman 1-on-1, and Solo pins Roman the way he did 1-on-1. Because for me, you went through this whole thing of Roman realizing he needs help, getting the Usos. We know, as much as we love Sami Zayn and how fun that part was, the Bloodline is Roman and the Usos. Right. And they were as dominant as they were. And you went through this whole thing to have Roman and the Usos come back together, and Roman needs help, and they, put aside their differences, only for them to lose clean to Solo. And then I don't know like Sami Zayn coming out and potentially, getting back involved, is that really the difference maker? Is Sami Zayn that big of a difference maker to justify Roman and the Usos losing clean to Solo?
No. It helps the numbers game.
Yes.
And I eventually think that's going to play a part in the story. But here's again, relating it to real life situations. You can have a sports team where you get the big three back together, right? You draft whatever, however you do it. If you don't have, and this is what I'm going to say, Sammy, the difference maker is going to be Paul Heyman.
Okay.
You need the right coach to lead this team. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you're not playing as a cohesive unit, if you're not a group.
Right. Shout out to the New York Jets. Go ahead.
Yes. Great analogy. Yes. If you are not playing as a cohesive unit, if you're not wrestling as a group, as a faction, as we, not just saying on paper, I got your back, you got my back, let's go out there and fight.
Sure.
Fine. But to have a guy like Paul Heyman, who's notoriously great for giving great speeches to ramp his people up, whether you buy into his whatever or not, to have a guy like Heyman come back, get all four of these individuals together and say, basically, remember who you are and what you did.
I love that
story.
Go
out there and be that again. That's how you win.
I do love that story. I just feel like this story could have been Roman facing Solo 1-on-1 all the way to Crown Jewel. Him losing clean 1-on-1 to Solo could have been where, okay, the Usos start to get back involved. Like you said, we still have 4 weeks. Yeah. So we can spend 4 weeks. Sammy's on Raw, Jay's on Raw. So you're talking about basically 8 shows that you can do this on between Raw and SmackDown. And you spend 8 shows getting the Usos back together, Sammy back in there, then Paul Heyman, and get ready for War Games. I just don't love that we did this whole Roman needs help, get the Usos, with how dominant Roman and the Usos have always been, and that wasn't enough.
But that's the point. They're not anymore. The game has moved on without them. Because
Yeah, but then
Roman
you have Jey
lost his.
Uso.
Yeah, but Jey Uso's moved on without them.
I understand, but you have Jey Uso looking as big of a face as he is, and he is, as big of a name as he is. Roman Reigns is Roman Reigns. The Usos are back together. And it's the fact that it was a clean loss. It wasn't like there was any dysfunction that directly led to that finish. There was nothing. The Usos got taken out on the outside. Roman turned around, got taken out by Fatu, took a Simone Spike, pinned. There was no like convoluted, crazy
I get
finish.
what you're saying, but again, the story can be. You can write that off easily as your head's not in the game, your head's not in the match, you're not focused.
Yeah,
you're too emotional about it because you're trying to quickly reclaim. I am the tribal chief, and you had this whole long run where you were the champion for 4 years. You're not going to just jump right back into that water and dominate. It's like, no, you need to get your head back right where it's at to be there again. Right now, you're going to get smacked around because you're just jumping into the presumption that you're just going to be that guy again.
So you need Paul Heyman to be like a Phil Jackson, Pat Riley right now.
Yeah, Pat Riley, whoever, man. I mean,
anyone but Robert Sala.
Dave Roberts.
Shout out to Daryl's Dodgers taking out the Yankees, another team with a bunch of stars that
There you go. Just
didn't show up.
All talent, no skill.
Let's run the gauntlet of everything else that took place in the world of wrestling. Let's stick with Crown Jewel. Cody Rhodes and Liv Morgan, your Crown Jewel champions. Were these the right calls?
Cody, yes. I'm going to go 50-50 on that. I'm going to say yes for Cody. Liv, I don't know about that one. Just because I don't... Everything with Liv Morgan seems so here and there, especially with the Rhea thing now.
Yes.
And I'm just like, so what are we doing? Because I feel like for it to be the right call, you have to move away from that now for her.
That's fair. I think Cody obviously is the right call. Cody's the face of everything, and he needs the win to continue to look important into his potential story with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. That seems to be continuing on. So I don't hate that, and I don't hate the Liv thing for the story for Nia. Right. Tiffany got involved, that's just going to push that story. And Liv, Dominic and Raquel, cheat to win. I'm all for it for the story of it, so I'm okay with that.
So real quick, the championships stay there.
They stay there, and they get like a Super Bowl ring.
I was gonna say, I feel like they're doing this like it's almost like a league sport. It's like every year you go back, and it's like, hey, did we do this again? We're in the finals now.
And now. And you
by
go
the way,
that
ring that Cody put on, I'm like, that thing's never coming off.
Nope.
Did you see that video?
Yep.
You either got to lose that finger or just wrestle with it on, dude.
He's going to be MJF and WWE with the
it's just on for
the diamond
He
ring.
struggled so hard. He's not coming back over that knuckle, dude.
He's automatically going to have brass knuckles in every match. Fantastic. In AEW, you mentioned at the top of the show, Bobby Lashley shows up at the end of Dynamite joining MVP and Shelton Benjamin. How excited are you for this?
I love it. Because I feel like the plug was pulled on this group too early.
Yes.
They had so much gas in the tank in WWE, and then they just let it go. It does two things. It gives me the group back that I think can really dominate. Now, I say that knowing AEW booking, but if all things are done right, they can be a real force. And also, I really enjoy the fact that they have portrayed Shelton Benjamin as this badass wrestler that they brought him in where it's like he got a serious focus that he was not getting in WWE for a very long time.
And for that reason, I love Swerve. I don't love that they let Swerve beat Shelton before Lashley showed up.
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
Like, I feel like Lashley could have shown up before and just had a beatdown to end the show because Shelton has looked strong so far and could have kept that. I do love it. Shout out to Bobby Lashley. Love to see him back on TV, back with MVP. And hopefully they can get this right. There's no Cedric Alexander. He's still in NXT. I think Ricochet could be a perfect fill-in for one more person in that group.
I agree.
And especially Ricochet and Samantha Irvin seem to be going full heel on social media since they're both gone from WWE.
Oh, what if she's their personal announcer? That'd be cool.
I love it. I love it. And Armando Alejandro Estrada.
Where he'd come and take the microphone. Yeah, do it that way. She's their personal announcer. She's their personal ring announcer.
Make that happen.
Do it.
Back to Liv Morgan. You mentioned the Rhea Ripley thing. Rhea Ripley legitimately dealing with an injury. They wrote her off TV. She was taken out by Raquel and Liv on NXT. Do you want to see this feud picked back up when Rhea returns?
Not really. Loosely, and I would say loosely in the sense of just a Royal Rumble interaction. I want her to come back in the Rumble. Yeah. And that's where you get that reminder of the feud. But I don't need this to go for I don't need this working towards WrestleMania or Elimination. I don't need any of that. We got to move on from this.
I'm worried that because of the timing, because of the injury and everything like that, we're going to have this at WrestleMania. And I love both. I love Rhea. I love Liv. It's just so long that we've been dealing with this.
I feel like it'd be like half a year at that point or more.
If in my world, I would have Rhea come back, Royal Rumble, maybe one feud with Raquel specifically.
Yeah.
and then push her off to something else,
Yeah.
push Liv off to something else. The feud's been fine.
Different brands, whatever.
It's just been going on for a minute. Orange Cassidy will be challenging Jon Moxley for the world title at Full Gear. Thoughts on this?
I mean, it's a challenger. Well, I'll say this: they're trying to do something different with the talent that they never really featured. That is their actual homegrown talent. I'll give AEW props for that. I'm just not really sold on this. It's a role I'd rather see Darby Allin come back into.
Sure. Instead of just dangling from a string from the ceiling.
Right, yeah. Orange Cassidy, and it's just like the promo that he did. I'm like, this is not selling me, dude.
I'm going to go against you on that. I don't love this big picture-wise. We talked about it a little bit last week. I wish there were bigger names involved in this Moxley story for his world title, and they've done this Orange Cassidy thing over and over again. The promo was probably the best promo of Orange Cassidy's career.
I need a little more impassion from him, but
it could have been a little more. Always could be, and that's not saying much. Obviously, Orange Cassidy has been very overrated in my mind by AEW, but that promo, I'm like, okay, I'm sold on this a little more than I once was. Doesn't mean I'm officially sold on it, but I'm more okay with it. Big picture wise, they need bigger names to go after Moxley to make this group feel as important as they're trying to push it to be. To me, the Hurt Syndicate with Swerve going at them feels more important than Moxley's group.
That's the featured group in my mind.
Yes, if you're just looking at who's going against them.
Yes.
Right? I'm sorry, Action Andretti and Top Flight and Dark Order, they're not selling
the resident jobbers they bring out to just get smacked around.
Correct.
That's exactly who they are.
Sticking in AEW, Kyle Fletcher, he had his old partner from Aussie Open, Mark Davis, show up.
Yeah.
Little tension there. Should they break this team up officially, or do you want to keep Fletcher solo?
I don't really know where you go with him solo. I'm not saying it's not possible for him to go solo and be successful. I just think obviously the star coming out of this is going to remain Will Ospreay.
Right.
Now, whether it be, Aussie Open kind of just pulling a swerve here and just like they attack, like it's a dupe over Ospreay and they're actually together.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just think that whatever they do here, it's going to just be second fiddle to whatever plans are for Ospreay.
Yeah, and because of that, with Will Ospreay being the star, I think that's more reason to have Mark Davis stay with Kyle Fletcher, make it a 2-on-1 thing, make it a whole Aussie Open feud, and then from there you can have Aussie Open go into the tag division because that tag division needs some help, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I think they would be a good, if you're trying to make them look important in the Don Callis family, they can go for the tag titles after this. The Miz getting involved with the Wyatt Six, kidnapped by the Wyatt Six after Raw. You like this angle?
I like that there's something for Miz.
Sure.
Because the Wyatt Six will be fine. Now, whatever comes out of this, are we getting like a dark version of Miz? Is he like part of their group? I don't know. We'll see. But I like it for him because I didn't really know where they were going to go after the whole R-Truth angle with him. So good for Miz.
I'm opposite. I like this because it's something for the Wyatt Six because Miz is a big name. I'm confused with what they're doing with Miz because Miz turned heel on R-Truth and then he's kind of hanging around Karrion Kross still. Then he apologizes to R-Truth. Now he's kidnapped by the Wyatt Six. So it's like he's in this like weird like between three people. R-Truth telling him he's going to die, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But like it's just as awkward because of how good of a heel we know Miz can be. I wish he would just own how much of a heel he went rather than being in this whole flux of like, I'm sorry, no, I'm not, I'm scared, I need help.
Which is why I think the better fit would just be him to join with Karrion Kross.
I don't think he's a join with anybody. He's a leader.
No, but I mean, okay, well, yeah, but then who's he going against at this point in time? I don't need any more R-Truth interaction.
If anything, he could have just been calling out Uncle Howdy. Him and Bo Dallas have a history from the Miztourage.
They do.
Right? Like, so he could have been full like confidence going at the Wyatt Six rather than like Karrion Kross be my friend. Well, no, R-Truth be my friend, and now I'm kidnapped. Like
Miztourage, that's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut, but Bo
you
Dallas
dug in the crates for that one. That was good.
Bo Dallas is in that.
Yeah.
AEW Tag Division Private Party took the tag titles off the Young Bucks. You like this move?
I love it.
Okay.
Again, featuring whether or not people say, well, I don't buy them, whatever. It's a team that wasn't getting any play for a long time.
Sure.
They were there since day one. Let's build these stars up. It's a mistake that WCW didn't do back in the day until last minute when they're like, hey, by the way, we have a Booker T. Let's put a title on him.
Yeah.
You have young stars now that have been there for a while. Build them up, feature them. And, of course, I don't really care for the Bucks being champions anymore. I am interested with this whole after-the-fact document shredding thing, but we'll see what that is.
Yeah, that part, and that's where I'm interested in, and I'm never going to complain about the Young Bucks losing the titles because they seem to always be at the top. I'm never going to complain about them putting the titles on somebody that hasn't really had their shine like Private Party. I'm not 100% sold on Private Party, but for the tag team division, it's a new look. They need that, and because of that, I'm going to go right into the next one. They're kind of hinting at the Acclaimed breaking up. Is this something you'd want to see?
I don't really know what you do with them broken up. I mean, again, somebody back there might have an awesome creative idea for them individually. I don't trust that.
Yeah, I don't. The one thing I'll say about this is that I see it. I don't know what you do with them after, but I completely understand why they would break up, because the Acclaimed haven't made sense to me for the last year and a half because of Max Caster. Caster comes out sounding like a full heel who does not give a fuck about Anthony Bowens. I'm the greatest wrestler alive, this, that, and the other. And Bowens is just next to him yeah. Like, wait a minute.
Hype man and
wait a minute. And he never even catches on to okay, Caster's being a complete dick right now. And you're just and everyone loves the Acclaimed. Yeah. It just doesn't add up. You guys aren't both baby faces right now. Caster is being a prick.
They don't even play that a little bit where he's looking at him sideways or something.
No.
It's just
Caster's being a prick and Bowens is just trying to still be full baby face, and they haven't played into that. So I could see why they break them up. I don't know what you do with them afterwards.
The lead up to the breakup will be interesting. I think that'll be captivating stuff. It's the afterwards where it's okay, you guys aren't Edge and Christian. You're not
correct.
Matt and Jeff, where it's I could see for either of you something, but I don't know what you do here.
Right. This is when they broke up Enzo and Cass, and then okay, what were you going to do with them after this?
I mean, everyone thought, well, Cass is big and Vince likes big guys, so obviously he'll be the champion at some point.
Yeah. Let's go to TNA real quick, because Nick Nemeth defeated Joe Hendry for the world title at Bound for Glory to retain the world title. Did they miss the boat here, not giving the title to Joe Hendry?
You got to strike with iron's hot, man. I think this would have been it, because a guy like Nick Nemeth, well-traveled, well-known name, he could always get it back at some other point. Joe Hendry's hot right now. He's been hot for a minute, and I think the crowd wanted that. I think just all over, every TNA fan wanted to see that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, you said it. Strike while the iron's hot, especially when you're not WWE, right? You're TNA. Yep. You need someone, and Joe Hendry, with how popular he is, his face literally was in Saudi at Crown Jewel, right? He is everywhere. You had him doing all the media rounds. He was the face promoting Bound for Glory. I compare this to if WWE did not give Daniel Bryan the world title at WrestleMania 30. Yeah. It's that big of a deal. Because Joe Hendry is that big of a deal. He's on NXT. He is everywhere. International star. Everyone wants him everywhere. And this was your time, your biggest show of the year. Give him his moment, and you don't.
Yeah.
Big miss there.
I think that was a wrong call.
Lastly, 3 names released by WWE over the weekend: Baron Corbin, Indi Hartwell, Tegan Knox. Do any of these names surprise you?
No, actually, no. I'm not surprised. I hope they land somewhere and are successful. I'm not surprised.
I wouldn't say surprised. Corbin's
Indi,
obviously.
maybe.
That's where that's the one. Corbin's the one that I'm he's been around for a minute, but he's kind of hit this weird, he was in weird tag teams that made no sense for him. Corbin's awesome. Corbin's going to land somewhere and do great.
He'll be fine.
Indi Hartwell's the one that I'm just man, you could have had something. She always had the look.
I feel
she
we kept waiting.
Yes,
when she healed and she wasn't injured anymore, as far as we know.
Yes.
I'm cool. Let's
push it.
What's going on? Why is she just kind of hanging around Candice LeRae? Let's do this thing.
Push it. Yeah, that's where I was okay, that's the one. I'm not bent out of shape about it, but that was the one I'm damn.
Missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity. But all 3 will land somewhere. Yeah. Tegan Knox, Indi Hartwell in that TNA women's division. That could be a thing.
Yeah.
That could definitely be.
That's a good addition. Yep.
Raw Around the Ring is available every week. Find us on YouTube at Roar Around the Ring. He's that dude, the real Daryl Taylor. I'm Justin Valentine. Talk to you guys very soon.